Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Apologies for that. Yes, Mr. Joffo joins us this morning to weigh in on those appointments that were made by the president yesterday. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today, Mr. Joffo. Well,
thank you.
Yeah, I know we had a look at some of these things just before these, and we went back and forth on this matter, so it'll be interesting to get your perspectives on them. But first, the SSS, we didn't hear anything of that service at the moment. And many are asking, wait a minute, I said, don't ask me. We'll have Mr. Joffo to perhaps give us some background, if he will, this morning on what to expect on that one. But go ahead and talk to us about your impressions on this. Is there any reason perhaps you think why we didn't see any scenario change in the SSS, or is it what, bidding time, or what?
Well, you're always asking me questions I'm not in a position to answer. It's the prerogative of Mr. President to appoint his service chiefs. And anyone he feels that has something to still do for him, I'm sure he will retain such a person. So it's the prerogative of the president, like I said, to lead the DGSS and fire other service chiefs. You recall that last weekend, when we discussed, I think about Friday, before I get to that one, I think it's not unexpected that the service chiefs will go, because an administration comes with its own programs, with its own policies, and how to implement such policies. So the president has come and made his appointment of the service chiefs. But I think I must, at this point in time, to commend the outgoing service chiefs. They have done their best, and it's left for Nigerians to judge whether their best was good enough. But,
if I could just... but before you go there, and perhaps add it to your impressions of what you're going to say. Now, we look largely at that position of the NSA at the time, and we went back and forth so much on this matter, and now we've seen that he's been renamed the NSA. And so what next? I mean, now that he's been named, every other thing has got to fall in line. Do you see any challenge, unexpected one, that he may have to surmount, being that his background too, coming from the police, being the NSA now?
Well, I don't see any challenge. There's no way stipulated in the NSA Act that the military must be the NSA. It's not stated anywhere. Even in the United States, you still have people who have not been in the military, despite the fact that they also have their services, compulsory services in the military. But career military men, there are very few of them that were appointed NSA. I believe also that the president knows the capacity and capabilities of Nuhu Ribadu. Don't forget that he was the head of the chairman of EFCC. He was exposed internationally, both at the regional and international levels, cooperating with various organizations. So I think that must have given him some background. Don't also forget that Nuhu Ribadu contested the presidency of this country under ACN under the present president, while he was still in control and the sway of that place. But one thing I'm happy about, which we discussed last weekend, was conflict of interest and the issue of strategies or responsibilities, if you will. Because I did mention that, and I think I've been vindicated, that the president had two options: to elevate Nuhu Ribadu to position of the National Security Advisor, because if he had been left as a security advisor and another NSA, there was bound to be conflict, and I still maintain that. So I must congratulate the president for streamlining this, not only being constitutional, that the NSA's appointment is constitutional, is enshrined in the Constitution, but that he has done the right thing by elevating him to the National Security Advisor. So I don't see any problem.
Okay, but if you If you look at the appointments of the service chiefs and all the other agencies that was made yesterday, do you get a sense, or will there be some sort of unspoken calm that may just pervade the atmosphere, having seen the spread, contrary to what many saw before, how they thought that several areas were excluded, and then they felt that they didn't see any reason whatsoever why they should build confidence in the security agencies. But with this, could that change?
It's bound to change. And I look at the appointment as all-inclusive. The only zone left out of this now is the North Central. But don't also forget that have some strategic political appointments. I'm more delighted, that the Southeast is now represented. And this is a way of dousing tension. I mean, the president doesn't want to, from my own view, I don't think he wants to look at solving the security challenges we have with the jackboot method that we have all been using. You need to dialogue with people. You need to talk with the people. I've received a few calls, as he says today, commending the president for at least appointing somebody from the Southeast. It's a way of building confidence, giving people assurance, and you go ahead in that direction, go further to look at the issues of, but maybe by the time we start setting an agenda for the president, look at the issue. But for this appointment, I think it must be commended very well.
Often it's always very interesting. As you said, it's not strange that service chiefs have to go. I mean, there's usually an inkling that, service chiefs might be changed with the change of an administration. But do you think that we need to formalize this process? By that, I mean, set something in motion, give maybe those who are leaving 2 weeks or a week or they're about to, move this. How does it really work? Can you give us an inkling into how this works when these changes are made?
You see, it's going to be, it's not as easy as we look at it. First of all, you give a notice. We don't have very strong institutions. We rather have some strong individuals. And unfortunately for us, most people think that our security agencies are most involved, if I must put it, in regime protection. So you must get your trusted people. So at any given time, I think the security chiefs must be aware that they will have to go, but the time is what they wouldn't know. You can see all of them were still briefing, doing their normal jobs, and this is until this bombshell. So, like I said, it's unexpected, and life goes on. Like I said, we commend them for the services rendered to the country, and I believe that there are other opportunities too for them to serve the country if the president so deems necessary.
It's very interesting because, the conversation we had on Friday talking about the position of the NSA and Special Advisors Security and how we went on and on. It was uncertain whether there was still going to be an NSA in addition to Special Advisors Security, or whether the president was, renaming the office, or whether he was making a deft move, because there had been concerns as to the service that the current NSA is coming from, the police service. I think it's only been, even though there's precedence for it in our history, it's been very few and far between. And some people thought, the president was just trying to play a very smart one when he initially named him as his Special Advisor Security. So it does appear that all ambiguity with respect to that has now been cleared up. Initially, we were thinking that a statement would have been necessary to clear the air. It does appear that there is no need for a statement now, is there?
Government must be responsive. Government must be reactive and responsive to issues raised in the public domain. I want to believe that Mr. President too has listened to a lot of comments on the conflict likely to come up between the office of the SA and the office of the NSA. So government works with reaction from people. So I think it's a very good development that he changed it. And you remember, like I said when we started, I suggested that the president should either elevate Nuhu Ribadu to the office of the NSA, which is constitutional, or look for a way out of it, which he has done. So I believe government has listening here, and they'll continue to listen to advice of the people. If you continue to listen to people, you will not make so much mistake, because there are bound to be mistakes. No situation is perfect, and I think the president has done well. Let's see how this new. If you also notice that these are younger officers compared to what we've been having before. Then that brings me to the issue of the president. You know, the president is a politician. He's a tactician, and he has strategy, political strategies. Apart from Goodluck Jonathan, this that's, I'm talking from 1999 now. This is the first time we're having, and possibly Yaradua that was short-lived. You will now see a politician in helm of affairs, not just taking strategic decisions on issues, but looking at the political dynamics of the country, and that is very good development too. But he's using his political experience.
Yeah.
To
if you take a look at, sorry to jump in again, my apologies. The Chief of Defense Staff, still looking at that spread, and you see that he from Kaduna, Zangon, Kataf, and so this is, of course, you'll always have different reactions concerning this one. So in terms of what he will bring to the table, the kind of dynamics, you know, the challenge Kaduna, Southern Kaduna has faced. So you immediately expect certain things to reset and then get results, given his background?
Oh, sure. I believe he's going to achieve a lot of positive results. You recall that was how General Buratai was appointed Chief of Army Staff during the heat of the problem in the Northeast. So it's going to be either in both ways, appealing to his people, you know, using a soft approach, appealing to his people to look at the situation critically and using the opponents, because the crisis in that place, you know, is doing festering and it's not still to be going. So taking it to them, you know, with kind of placate.
Okay, I think we lost Mr. Joffa, but it's quite interesting. He was trying to make that point there, given his background, you know, the challenge they faced over time, and besides... Okay, it keeps going back and forth, but we'll sort that out. He's also been with Operation Hiding High. He's got a medal there. Also had the medal from Field Commander, Medal of Honor, Grand Service Star, MNJTF medal, quite decorated Chief of Defense Staff. And so in terms of what he will bring to the table, they expect a lot. I mean, the country expects all of them to hit the ground running, as we always say here, because they got a huge background, huge expectations as well. And then given that spread, you expect that handshake. And then remember, always remember that bit where the president consistently told them before all disappointments, work together, not at cross purposes. They have to share intelligence, and then people themselves too, using that knowledge, the key knowledge base, to ensure that you then deploy appropriately, combining with the capacity and quality of the equipments that you have. So if they then bring in their expertise in terms of the manpower, we expect a lot of results moving forward. But I guess we'll also see several others. And then onto the Chief of Air Staff as well, coming with his background. And you know how once upon a time there was that narrative as to providing the air cover for the ground forces. They needed that to work, but at some point there were questions concerning whether or not they were working together. So all of those things, who knows, should become history with all of this. And we'll still go to the customs as well. Mr. Adeni there, having ran the media role, the image-making position of the customs, now heads the customs. And I think part of the challenge they had the last time was getting one of them to be in charge, not one who retired a long time ago. So who knows if this will accelerate several other things. And I know that several things that are expected of the customs. I know they talk about the inspection facilities that they have, how slow it can be. They want things a lot faster. Only yesterday, I think it was, Mark, when we spoke about other countries, in Ghana, several other West African countries, how they seem to have faster operations with their customs exporting products. And so in Nigeria, we'd expect Mr. Adeni, who's been there, to know that, well, these are the low-hanging fruits which we expect to happen, because these are at the base. I think this should be elementary, we reckon. So we expect to see a lot more, way better service, output as well from him and several others who've been appointed. After all, that is why they were appointed. Guys, Ayo and Buki?
Well, you know, those issues that you have raised, Chamberlain, perhaps also with the concurrence of Mokwe, points to a lot of things, one of which is, for me, I mean, we're talking about service chiefs here. For me, the most important thing is what will change, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get Mr. Ejiofor to respond to that and a number of other things. What will change? What is going to be new? Well, we don't often hear security officials address, you know, Nigeria unless there is a need. Mokwe will often remind us that the military has a program or a template of addressing the press from time to time. But it'll be good to ask Mr. Ejiofor and a number of other people who will be speaking with in the days to come, what will change if he's back with us. It'll be good to find out, because I continue to recall that statement by the president at his inauguration. It says, look, we'll look at the security. Mr. Ejiofor, are you back with us?
I'm here.
All right, good. Thank you. So the question that I'd like to ask you straight away, as I've been pointing out, is, given these appointments now, and you've said it's a good move, and a number of people have pointed to the same thing, question is, what will change?
Yeah, for instance, as Chamberlain was discussing, I didn't know you were not even getting it. You know, the customs appointment is one appointment that Nigerians are very happy about, because for the first time, you see a non-career officer heading for this long. It does not only keep professionalism, it stops the growth of the people within the service.
Okay, seems that's hung again. Well, that must... okay, go ahead.
To put in their best. To put in their best, you know, and also enhance their career. So we expect positive results, especially from the custom, knowing full well that custom generates a lot of fund. You know, there has been criticism about the outgoing the Controller General of Customs. So we expect some positive change. I think, again, the president's move is strategic. He's a politician, so he knows how to play his game.
Okay, but you've spoken for the customs, and that's definitely admirable. I don't know what you would say for other sectors, particularly in the area of collaboration. Recall also, and I don't know if I brought this up with you before, the president spoke not only about the security architecture, but the security doctrine. The consequence of that, it will be good for people to know and then know what to expect, as you have been trying to tell us the things that are likely to change.
Yeah, you know, during his inaugural speech, the president said he was going more welfare of the personnel. So we expect not only just looking at funding, but following up with you know, issues of welfare, training, logistic equipment, and all what have you, to improve their services and possibly curtail our security challenges.
You know, but just to follow up on that conversation, the argument could go back and forth about whether or not, you know, the service chiefs, the outgone service chiefs, were provided with what exactly they needed to fight against insecurity. Can we look objectively at their performance as against what would change with this round of service chiefs, Mr. Ejiofor?
Yeah, I can tell you outright that you cannot perform beyond your limits. The service chiefs operated under very difficult conditions. Not operating under security can never be fully funded. Not only being underfunded, if you look at the issue of the whole sector, the whole gamut of our economy, politics, everything is down because we have no money. And the little money given, and I think I also want to advise, not warning now, the National Assembly to carry out their oversight function. There's a lot of corruption in terms of purchase of arms and ammunition, not only within the military, but everywhere. And the National Assembly is also involved in the corruption in terms of the oversight function. They look for money. I've said it time before, and some National Assembly members have called me whether I can prove it. I say, I don't need to prove it. It's well known that there's a lot of corruption in the process of oversight.
Mr. Ejiofor, I can't resist referring to our conversation last week, particularly as it has to do with the renaming of Mr. Ribadu as the National Security Advisor. There had been speculations that perhaps his appointment was a placeholder role for the NSA, for the office of the NSA, and now it's been confirmed. The argument was also to the effect that perhaps the former nomenclature was to be given such that the president didn't want to hurt the feelings of the military, because the convention has always been that anyone that holds that office has to be a retired military officer, such that he can command the respect of the other service chiefs. Now, has this appointment fulfilled that role? Was the president, in fact, flying the kite to see whether, the military would accept this appointment of Mr. Ribadu?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Your thoughts are very, very interesting because, perhaps, yeah, he flew a kite to see reaction. And he got the reaction, the required reaction. In my earlier line of thought, I said, this is a politician who knows how to gauge the pulse of the people. He knows how to feel out the people and see how he will get results. So maybe placeholder, yes, or maybe he wanted him to do away with the office of the NSA. There have been allegations of massive corruption too at the office of the NSA. You remember how Dasuki was tried and a lot of them, So as a former ZAC chief, I think he should be able to plug the loopholes, have effective control on the security agencies in terms of oversight, in terms of input, in terms of output. So he needs to look at them, supervise them. The president is the president, commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He has never been in the army. So if he decides to use even a doctor or an engineer, it is his prerogative. Another thing that must be pointed out is that all the services contribute personnel in terms of policy formulation in the office of the NSA. All the services are represented. So his role is to coordinate, analyze, and disseminate information to the president and assist the security agencies. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, Mr. Ejiofor, have you taken...
Yes.
Should we take into cognizance that Mr. Nuhu Ribadu retired as an Assistant Inspector General of Police and does not exactly have a core Navy, Armed Forces or defense background? Do you think you'll have challenges with that all-important need of commanding respect from this new service chiefs?
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem. There's this jokes we used to talk about that appointment is signed and rank. So by his appointment, he is to oversee and anybody who is not comfortable, unfortunately, we have to give way for people who will obey. because he's representing the president, commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So they are subject to his control. If you don't feel comfortable because you are in the military and you don't want to, you can't continue to do the same thing the same way. And
okay. We hope that
okay. Let us get results.
Okay, well, perhaps to kind of give us some line of understanding about, from Bukala's question to you, do you see this as a deft move to really and practically move Nigeria into civil rule? I ask that because, as you said, the NSA is someone who doesn't particularly have military experience. He is a policeman. But the fact that this is civil rule and the police is supposed to be leading the charge, so to speak, do you see that as part of the move, politician or not?
Yeah. Actually, I look at it as a part of the democratic process. Like I said, all the services contribute staff in the office of the NSC. So they're all supposed to work together and bring up policies that will assist the government in achieving its result. So there's I don't see any problem there.
Okay, I'm happy you're saying that we do not see problems, but then how will this information trickle down to the rank and file? That's one of the questions a number of people will also ask you. Remember the previous administration, he had quite a challenge getting the services, not the service chiefs, the services to work together. But here we are now. So what, in your opinion, are some of the likely challenges that could come that the NSA will find a way to make sure that, are surmounted and it can trickle down to the rank and file in every part of the country?
Well, it's all borders on personality, character, capacity, and capabilities of the appointee. Depends on his relationship with the people and the directives he will also get from his principal, who is the president and commander-in-chief. The president has been hammering on the issue of synergy among the security chiefs. So I think that should be central in their approaches to issues. It's very, very key. They must work together and they must get the confidence of the National Security Advisor. It's important. The moment they begin to work across purposes, we will not achieve our results.
Well, Mr. Michael Ejiofor, we have to thank you very much for your time this morning with us. It's been quite illuminating, and just, as you know, just hope for the best as the days unfold. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Michael Ejiofor is a former director at the SSS. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there's more when we return from this break. Just stay with us.